you all had a wonderful start to the new year. Today we are doing a quick experience video on outcome 1 of the QLTS study material. I hope to provide a quick summary of what is covered in the outcome, the level of difficulty, and some tips for studying the different areas. English legal system and European Union law is a foundational course which aims to provide a general working knowledge of the jurisdiction. It covers the authority and procedures of the legal institutions, history and constitution of European Union, relationship and interactions between EU law and national laws of member states, etc. It also deals with the internal market of EU, that is the concept of free movement of goods, capital and people. I have just finished the module and here's a quick review of what's covered and some tips to get through them. Concept 1. Introduction to the English legal system. This covers the basic concepts of the jurisdiction and its various legal instruments. This chapter was a breeze-through. Tips. This is a read-through section. Do not spend time memorizing anything. Get the basics in check. Concept 2. Court system. Civil and criminal. It's an uber-lengthy review of the structure and jurisdiction of the civil and criminal court system. It's a bit boring and it takes quite a lot of time to digest. Tips? It would be good if you can make flowcharts to study the hierarchy and appeal system. The more visual it is, the better it will be. For example, leapfrogging procedure from the High Court to the Supreme Court. Can you visualize a frog? If you do the civil one first, criminal one will be quite similar and easy to review. Concept 3. Statutory interpretation and doctrine of precedent. For common law students, this is something extremely familiar. Just a revision of the literal rule, golden rule and mischief rule and a whole lot of Latin gibberish commonly used in legal English. Tips? Flashcards would be a lot of help over here. Concept 4. European Union. This covers all the founding treaties of European Union, EU institutions and sources of EU law. There are a lot of bodies to cover and some of their functions and names may look and sound quite confusing. For example, there is a European Council and the Council of European Union, which are two different bodies. The Council of EU is also referred to as the Council of Ministers. Couldn't they have called that the Cabinet of EU instead? Tips? Do not just read through this one and also don't try to memorize. Understand the names, constitution and bullet point the functions of each institution. Some have shared responsibilities. Pie charts may come to aid. Next comes the power-packed concept of relationship between EU law and national law of member states. It's a complicated area with a lot of concepts and case laws. I would suggest you take this up on a day where your head is screwed on right, with some calming Spotify playlist on the background. Tips? This is not a read-through area. Understand each concept carefully before moving on. There are concepts with slight variations which might seem interchangeable, like the direct effect and direct applicability. Get the distinctions down pat. The concepts in this section make guest appearances throughout the course. Use flashcards for numerous case laws. There are a lot of case laws with the same parties dealing with different issues. For example, factor chain number 1 to number 6 and multiple Marshall cases. Get them straight by understanding what issue was dealt with in each. If the case summary in the prep material is not enough to get a background, Google the facts. The internal market of EU. This area covers the free movement of goods, capital and people. The free movement of people. This is a pretty logical and straightforward section. This deals with the right of workers and their family members and some limitations on this right. The free movement of self-employed deals with the freedom of establishment and right to provide and receive services. Free movement of capital. This section was a cakewalk after the people section, built on the same logical framework but with way lesser case laws. Took me just half an hour to complete that portion. Next is the free movement of goods. This section was the toughest of the lot. It deals with the customs union and free circulation of goods. The scope of the treaty provisions covering the areas of import and export barriers is quite vast. I suggest you take this up on a day while your head is screwed on right with some calming Spotify playlist on the background. This section took me about 3 hours of concentrated study to grasp and internalize. Tips: there are a lot of regulations and case laws in these ones. Although you may not be required to memorize the regulations, understand what they are and their lacunae. There are some very weird and specific exemptions as well, so keep a lookout for those. The above tips on case laws apply here as well. The internal market also covers EU competition law, a very straightforward section with the basics of 4 main policy areas of EU competition law: cartels, monopolies, mergers, and state aid, along with their exceptions and enforcement. General tips: for case laws and concepts, I'm using flashcards. The technique of spaced repetition might be a lot of help on this. For more information on this technique and how to use it, look at the video by Thomas Frank on College Info Geek channel. I have given the link in the description down below. Don't be scared of case laws. Get the gist. Names may be confusing, but that's okay. Regulation numbers and section numbers need not be memorized. Just get what they are about. Next up is constitutional law and judicial review. That's outcome number 2. Stay tuned to Legal Womania. Bye guys.